Hey, Louis. Hope you and your family are safe and well. I was just wondering what the time period was like for you from the end of the season through ultimately when you learned you would be back with all the uncertainty. How difficult was that to kind of go through and try and project out?
Hey, Steve. Great seeing your family as well. Hope yours is well throughout the holidays, and everyone else is as well here on the call. Well, that time, right after the season, I think I shared with you guys on that last day, what the plan was going into the off season, starting from the next day. It was to look back and evaluate some of the things that happened in the season, some of the things that we learned, some of the things that other people in the personnel, whether it was staff or players, thought we should be working at and making it better for next year. So immediately we started evaluating ourselves and developing a plan, and that was the approach the whole time. So and then throughout the transition, the communication with Sandy when he got took control over happened immediately, and the same thing has been shared with publicly. It was shared to myself. The respect of the process. Before hiring a baseball op personnel. We're just gonna wait and make it official until a point. And then Sandy stepped in to be part of baseball ops, and that's when he got confirmed that I was coming back. But the whole time, Steve, I've been working with the rest, some of the guys and some of the players, connecting some of the things that we need to get better in order for next year for preparation of the team.
Louis, you guys obviously made a switch at bench coach. Is the rest of the staff expected to be back, or are there other potential changes?
Well, as of now, it's public, Steve, that Jeremy Hefner's been engaged in conversations with some of the guys, and he's been in the middle of actual, acquisitions, we could say, some of the pitchers that we'd gotten. Jeremy is the pitching coach. As you know, with the bench coach name, David Joss, you mentioned, he came out officially today that he's going to be our bench coach for 2021. So those two are, as of now, confirmed as part of the coaching staff. And then we have a process going on there right now. So respect for that, I just can't go ahead and say the entire staff that's gonna be back. So that's a process going on right now. There are, for me to share it with the group here, there are going to be some title changes, and there's going to be some additions too. So we might have an expanded staff in order to get ourselves better from a preparation standpoint, and also help the players and ourselves looking forward to day-to-day basis in the regular season. Thank you, Steve.
Louis. Your next question is from Tony DeComo.
Hey, Louis, if I could just follow up on that, is Chili Davis, are you guys expecting him to be a member of the staff next year?
Well, hi, Anthony. Like I've mentioned, right now we're sharing Hef and Josh status. That's what's publicly. I've been engaged in conversations with Chili throughout this whole time. Him and I have a really good relationship. He has a great rapport with the players. We expect that to be the case, that Chili's back as the hitting coach. But before we go into the full staff and the titles and the additions that we're going to have, we want to get there first before we share how the whole scheme, how the whole organigram in our coaching staff is going to be, so we can share it with you guys.
Got it. And roster question. I know it's hard to tell with the way the roster is because it's not complete, but how are you looking at Seth Lugo going into the winter? Are you preparing for him to be a member of your rotation or back in the bullpen?
Well, Anthony, right now he's part of the offseason plan. Jeremy Hefner put together a great offseason plan for the pitchers, very thorough. throwing program that will help them to prepare progressively, throughout the offseason, and then ramping up towards spring training camp. So Seth is part of that, like all the pitchers are. And then we do have there's a separate way that he put together for the starters to prepare so they can be in order for a rotation, and also so they can start stretching. There is a point where we can do things like that. Right now, I know Seth has been in conversations to be either way. And I think, with respect to our front office now, Jared and, Sandy, and working on the logistics of our needs, there will probably be some talks of whether we're going to use him in the bullpen in the rotation. So it's definitely said this. It's a great, asset in both. So, we'll see where we go in the offseason and what we bring into the team, or how we're going to go. And I think that's going to dictate how we're going to use him for next year. And then we can definitely share that.
Tim Britton with The Athletic, your line is open.
Hey, Louis, good to see you. Sandy, when he mentioned that he was bringing you back, said, he expected you to be better managing in-game at the major league level. I'm wondering if, when you've looked back at last season, where do you think there is room for improvement for you? What did you take away from just managing game situations last year?
Hey, Tim. Yeah, great question. Yes, and I agree. And, I've heard Sandy say that, and, I couldn't agree more. I mean, there's always so much room for growth in this game, especially for a first-year manager like myself, and how things went last year. So many things to learn from, and all the changes. And, and especially in game, the more you're involved in games, I think the more experience you create. And I look back, and I think there's a lot of in-game decisions that I've learned from. And then I think we can go another direction. So with the help of coaching staff, now bringing a guy like David Jobs, who's had tremendous experience in the off season, we can start those conversations about in-game decisions. So, I'm looking forward to keep expanding. I'm working on it right now, tirelessly. Engaging in conversations with guys like David, reading, expanding, writing down, and you got to stay like an open book all the time. And I don't think anything for granted that happened last year. I think it was a great lesson for me to learn from, and that's what I'm paying most of the time in the off season right now, just learning and growing.
Is there any one thing, like one type of decision that you say to yourself now, oh, maybe I'll approach that differently, or any one common theme to things that you would maybe do differently going forward? Well,
there are some in-game strategies. I mean, if we get as specifically about maybe like rotation usage, maybe the opener, maybe doing some things like that. So I think that there are some things there that you can definitely expand in your own repertoire according to what we have. Obviously we're still in the process in the off season to structuring the team. But when you have your cards there's definitely more planning that you can do that will help you to make those in-game decisions. So I'm looking forward to be, probably a little bit more aggressive with some of those strategies. I think with the help of the people around me, like I mentioned before, I think I'll be in the right path. And right now I'm working, I'm reading, I'm expanding, I'm paying attention, and I'm talking, and I'm trying to absorb as much as I can, and using the model from last year. I feel that I'm on the right path to keep learning and keep growing the game.
Next question is from Disha Thozar of the Daily News.
Hey, nice to see you again. Just kind of, I know this happened kind of a while ago now, but what was your reaction to Robinson Cano testing positive again for the steroid? And have you spoken to him since? And just how does that kind of impact your layout in the infield for next season?
Hey, Disha, how are you? It was a surprise, first of all. I've learned from it through my phone. Like, it came out on my phone, and I didn't know that it happened until it came out publicly. So it was a surprise. I was shocked when it happened. Obviously disappointed at the time as well, knowing the suspension. Yes, I've reached out, always to give my support, and to be there for him. I think Robinson is a great human being, and he's always been a great presence in the clubhouse for the rest of the guys and the coaching staff, including myself. So I called him to be there and support, throughout times. And I'm sure it'll be tough times for him next year, not being able to participate in games, but it was surprising, and just contacting him to be supportive at the time.
And then just kind of how does that impact your layout for the infield at second base for next season?
So reacting immediately to it in a way of how the team is gonna now probably due to filling that position. And we have guys that are versatile, and we have guys that can definitely play there. And there's different names, and you think of a guy like Jeff McNeil, you think of a guy like Andres Jimenez, who played both of the three positions in the infield, and Luis Guillorme, had a really good year for us when he got the call. Or then there's guys also in the market that can come in and do stuff. So I'm not going to get in the way of the negotiations and stuff that our front office, our leadership group is doing. But there are ways to definitely fill in and do some things for next year and stay competitive as a team, even without Robinson Cano on. Thank you.
Bruce Beck, you're up next.
Hey, Louis, happy holidays. I hope your family is healthy. How excited are you to work for new owner Steve Cohen? And do you feel extra pressure to win and win now?
Well, I'm very excited, Bruce. And even before I answer that, because both great questions. I'm doing great here. I hope you and your family are doing great as well. But it's exciting. The passion. It's electric. I feel a lot of energy from our owner, just to hear him talk and hearing that he's connecting with our fan base as well. I think that's special, the way he does it. Him and his wife, always up front there, throughout tough times in the off season. We had a shortened season, and being connected to our fans, keeping them excited. It does the same thing to us, as a coaching staff and as a team. I think we're going to feel that, consistently throughout. So the pressure part, I've had talks before about pressure, and a lot of people say pressure is a privilege. I just think that it's a highly way of motivate people, when you establish expectations like that, especially coming from an owner of a team. So that's how it's taken, from me. I think it's great. That's what we all want. When I got the position of a manager, I said that, I'm going to lead this team to succeed, and that's what the expectation that we have. So no difference to our goal. That's what we want, and it's just highly motivated. I feel highly motivated by the words of Mr. Cohen and the way they're participating with the team and the fan base.
Justin Toscano, your line's open.
Hey, Louis, good to see you. Last year was kind of a whirlwind after you got the job, and I know you had to sit through somewhat of the ownership transition this year, but how much more comfortable do you feel in the offseason and as you prepare for spring training? Hey,
Justin. Thanks for the question. It's different now. I feel that I got a little bit more room, to do things, and I want to call it this: maybe pause, slow things down, and break things into pieces. I mean, similar to answering to Tim Britton when he asked the question about getting better. I mean, that's what I'm doing, and I'm trying to get better. So I'm there for the guys, for the players, for the coaching staff, for the front office, and and be the best version of myself next year. Upgrade it with the things I've learned this year and the things I'm learning now in the offseason, just by interacting with a lot of good baseball people and reading and looking back and modeling some of the things that were done this year. So yes, it gets me time. I'm grateful for it. I'm doing the best to take advantage of that. So it is a little different now that I have a little bit more time to prepare.
And I know it's still early, but do you notice a difference in how the new front office and under Sandy has kind of operated early on versus kind of the old front office?
Well, yeah, there is a little difference. I mean, obviously, I have major respect for our old front office and the Wilpons as well. We had a great relationship going on. But definitely is differences. I mean, it's personalities, like, it's the beauty of life, how all of us are different, and how all of us, have inputs and support each other. So it's definitely different. With Sandy, we've connected very well. I known Sandy from the past, even though it was from minor league manager standpoint. But what I perceived from his leadership is the same thing that I'm seeing from up close. I mean, it's a very, very professional, a lot of experience, and delegating to his leadership group, and, just working in good combination. And so that's right now what we're doing, per calls that we had, per the connections that we have almost on a daily basis. So yes, there have been some differences, leadership, and just in a different way.
Good. Mike Vaccaro, your line's open.
Hey, Louie, happy holidays. I'm curious, last year was such a bizarre setup of a year, 60 game sprint. I mean, a guy who'd been a manager for 25 years might have had a hard time adjusting to all the nuances of that kind of, outlier of a season. I'm curious if you're looking forward to having the opportunity to, with luck anyway, to having a full season and seeing what you're kind of managing will do across 162 as opposed to a 60-game sprint.
Hey, Mike, happy holidays to you and the family as well. Great seeing you. And yeah, it's a great question. That's the way I'm preparing right now. I'm preparing for the full season along with the coaching staff that I'm talking to. That's what I'm looking forward to. So the way we're preparing for the next year and for spring training is to play those games. And it was still is challenging for everybody in the world with what's going on. But the news about the vaccine, I mean, gives us the near future, hope of, things to be back close to normal, if I could say. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to having the full season and having the full spring training as well, which is something that was also, interrupted and then picked up again in the summer, as you guys all know. So that's the way I'm prepared, just to have full everything. And once we establish the whole staff and we want to start working as a group, to get things set up for the players to get going in camp.
Mike Puma, you're up next.
Hey, Louie. Wondering, you see Rosario coming into camp as just a shortstop, or do you think he'll be asked to play some other positions, and if so, which position?
Hey, Mike, great seeing you. Happy holidays as well. That's a good question with Rosie. Some of the things that, I thought about Rosie is to expanding his versatility. I know the outfield position has been mentioned before, but that's something that he's not doing, and we're not planning on doing right now with him. But he's working at shortstop, which is his main position. But for him to expand, probably maybe play a little bit third base, I think is something that will definitely help him, and he'll help the team with. We have had conversations about him throwing from that angle and practicing maybe some of those plays. that he can make from third base and just learn the position a little bit so he can expand. But he would definitely help a lot if he expands his versatility and we have some more moving parts. I mean, from a strategy standpoint, it will definitely help the team more.
I would imagine you're hoping that the DH returns, but if it doesn't, does that probably put Dom Smith in left field, or how does that shake out if you don't have a DH?
Yeah, it's I'm in the mode that let's get there type of mode right now with that, Mike. If we can think of both ways, obviously. If you ask me, I like the DH this year, and I was raised in a traditional baseball, in National League traditional baseball, as you know. But it will really help us, to have the DH with the hitters that we have and the guys that, especially like you're asking, having Dom and Alonso there sharing maybe first base and DH. Dom versatility, if we fall into that where there's no DH, Dom will, with his versatility, have more time in left field to have Alonso in the lineup every day, like we're looking at, or even having a rotation. So those are some of the things that I've thought about and we can talk about. Dom works really hard. He wants to stay versatile. He knows what's going on. He's very professional about it. So let's wait and see what the final is on the DH rule, universal DH rule for next year, and then definitely we can have a better plan there.
Next question is from Tim Brown.
Hey, Louis, how are you?
Hey, Tim, all good. How are you?
Good, man. This actually dovetails well with the answer you just gave. I'm curious of the rules that were instituted in 20, just specifically for 20, that now moving forward, which would you keep and which would you get rid of, just personally speaking? So the DH, we have your answer, but also the extra inning rule, the 7-inning double headers, the expanded postseason, and you could throw in the 3-batter minimum as well, even though that wasn't necessarily just for 2020. Which would you keep and which would you don't?
That's a great question, Tim. And I like when you say personally too. I've the rules that I really liked this year, because this is the thing we're talking about 2021. So if we have some restrictions still and protocols, like this rules come in handy, just for the part of time being together and all that. And I think they came on handy because the priority was to keep the guys or everyone at the field healthy, and follow the protocols, keep the distancing and all that. So to have the extra inning rule, let's start with that one, 10 inning, and then give each team a shot to score a run or maybe build a rally with whatever strategy you have going on from a manager's perspective, from a team perspective. Now this rule for me, like moving on, if 2021 is got no restrictions, I like the rule. But if we could maybe an 11 or 12th inning, maybe play the 10th inning regularly. It's something that maybe I'll like it personally a little more. Universal DH, like I just mentioned, I like to stay. And 3-batter minimum, it's a rule that I think it really puts some handcuffs to either strategies or also individuals in the game. I mean, you guys seen the lefty specialists in the past, so I think it's something that can definitely get in the way of that for guys like that to get a job. So some of those rules, 3-batter rule is the one that would probably be more up against. But as far as the other, with the tweak of the extra inning, but I still like that rule. The double headers, my 9 inning games, I like 2 9s, but the 2 7s came in handy this year. I thought they worked perfect for the protocols. MLB did a good job establishing all of these rules for 2020. But maybe playing the 2 9 moving forward is something that I look at. I mean, I always like my 9 innings to plan them just like I plan every other game.
Any of those that you were surprised to like, that you thought going in you were going to hate, and thought, you know what, as an old school guy, I sort of like this anyway?
So a good question, because in 2018 I managed in AA, and that was the first year of the extra inning rule in the minors. And that year I was like, I didn't know what to expect of it, and I did like it because you diminish a lot of things. Flying a player to help the roster, in AA or A ball or whatever affiliate had that happen. He helped. And he just helped for the marathon's sake, in case you had to travel the next day probably to a city on a bus ride. So I ended up liking it. So I knew what was coming. I was really curious about how the guys were going to react this year to the rule, and I think at a higher percentage they liked the rule for the purpose of the circumstances that we're playing in. This year, in 2020, with all, with the pandemic and the virus and all the things that we had a priority for the guys to stay healthy.
Next question is from Natalie Alonso.
Saludos, Luis. Dos preguntas. La primera, si me puedes hablar un poco de qué te llevó a seleccionar a Dave como tu coach de la banca. Entiendo que él tiene una larga relación contigo y con tu familia, y en qué sientes que él te puede ayudar en tu segundo año.
Hi, Luis. Hi, Luis. I have 2 questions. My first question is, what led you to choosing Dave? I know that you guys have a relationship between you and your family with him, and how much do you think he can help you this season?
Thanks, Alan. Natalie, bueno, ¿qué te puedo decir? Dave es alguien bien conocido, como tú lo dices, de la familia. Yo creo que una de las cosas que llevó a tomar la decisión de elegir a Dave fue primero que todo la relación personal que tenemos, y luego la experiencia que él tiene en el juego en liga grande. Él ha estado en esta posición de bench coach antes con diferentes equipos, y ha hecho muchas cosas que yo estoy buscando ahora mismo para el staff, para el equipo. Ya él lo ha hecho en su carrera bastantes veces. Así que traer esa vasta experiencia al staff, al equipo, y a mí también directamente, yo pienso que él ahí era que chequeaba todas las casillas para ser el bench coach de los Mets de Nueva York, y el bench coach mío. O sea, esa relación personal, profesional y la experiencia, ese balance de esas 3 cosas es que hace tomar la decisión con Dave. Sí había más candidatos, pero Dave siempre estuvo al tope de la lista, y gracias a Dios que conseguimos el permiso con la organización que estaba trabajando, y lo pudimos entrevistar, pudimos hablar y llegamos a un acuerdo, y él está con nosotros ahora.
Y la segunda, con respecto a Edwin Díaz, ¿cuál fue tu mensaje para él cuando terminó la temporada? Y, o sea, fue una muestra pequeña, pero la mejoría que él tuvo, ¿con cuánta confianza le darás tú la bola a él en el 9º inning el próximo año?
Natalie, before we get to that, can we let Alan go ahead and translate the first part of Louis' answer?
Okay.
Well, yeah. First and foremost, you are right. Me and my relationship with Dave does go a long way, and when we started the process, he was the first on my list. He was at the top of the list. We did have other candidates that we did speak to, but thankfully the organization that Dave was with gave us the permission to talk to him. But like you said, he does give us that experience. I do have that relationship with him, and all the experience that he has in the major leagues. I think he can help me a long way.
Okay. Alan, ¿tú quieres decir la pregunta de ella de Sugar?
Oh, see, and regarding to Edwin Diaz and the way he ended off last year, how comfortable do you feel that he can continue on that success that he had last year and to be your closer in the ninth inning in next season?
Natalie, Sugar Díaz ahora mismo está trabajando durísimo. Yo he estado en contacto con él. Él está en Puerto Rico trabajando duro, como él lo hace siempre. Un muchacho muy dedicado, que cuida mucho y ha aprendido mucho sobre su cuerpo, para fortalecerlo, para nutrirlo, para seguir mejorando. Aparte de talentoso, él está haciendo esa cosa para todavía ser mejor. Así que ese es el enfoque ahora mismo. Yo pienso que en los roles para el año que viene, de tirar séptimo, octavo, noveno inning, todavía no puedo decir en ninguna decisión sobre eso. Sí, Edwin era en un momento el stopper de nosotros. Él estaba tirando en la novena entrada. Él sí llegó a tirar el séptimo y llegó a tirar el octavo cuando Seth Lugo estaba en el bullpen y estaba funcionando para nosotros como cerrador también. O sea, teníamos dos cerradores. Y sí, yo puedo decirte que Edwin Díaz sería uno de esas personas el año que viene. Uno de los candidatos a cerrar partidos, uno de los candidatos de frenar cualquier sangrado temprano también. Cuando digo temprano para él es como un séptimo, octavo inning antes del noveno. O sea, ese último tercio del juego, Edwin estaría involucrado en ayudarnos a ganar el partido junto a otras personas. Así que ese sería el plan y eso es lo que nosotros queremos mantener, de ser versátil, usar a los pitchers nosotros para que ellos sean versátiles en venir en diferentes partes del juego y poder parar la ofensiva contraria.
Hi, Natalie. So, yeah, Sugar Diaz is in Puerto Rico, and he's working super hard like he's always done. He's learning a lot, and he's remaining consistent on how to take care of his body. Last season, yeah, the Sugar did have a good season, and we used him as one of our like I like to call a stopper. So he was being used in the 7th, 8th, or 9th inning, even when Seth was in the bullpen as well. So, but in a sense, we did have two closers last season. But I'm not prepared yet to disclose any roles at the moment. But he will be used as one of those stopgaps, and we definitely want him to continue to be a versatile piece of our bullpen going forward.
Thank you, Alan. Next up is the legendary Ed Coleman.
Luis, happy holidays. Good to see you. My questions are long gone, but I'll ask you about Noah Syndergaard and whether you had any update on him, any contact with him, and is there any timeline or new timeline with Noah?
Hey, Ed, great seeing you. Happy holidays. Yeah, Noah, I got more insight from Noah from our pitching coach, Jeremy Hefner. I text with Noah, but not more than that, than how he's doing or anything and how's the process going. But as far as exchanging videos and, his feel, his progression, he's more in touch with Jeremy Hefner and our performance staff. So I've seen the videos. He has been throwing off the slope. I'm sure it's been out there to the public that he's progressing that way. From what I heard, he's on schedule or maybe a little bit ahead of schedule. You know how Noah works and goes about it. He's a hard worker. So he's a guy that was going to, face this surgery and rehab, the best you could face it. So he's doing it as we expected, and just the timeline yet, still remain to be known. But he's in a good spot right now, physically and rehabbing of his surgery.
Thank you.
Next up, question from Tim Healy.
Hi, Luis. I was just hoping to follow up on a couple things that others asked. This being your first full offseason as Mets manager, I know last year you had premiered 12 and then were involved as a member of the coaching staff and then, got the job in late January. What is the level of involvement this winter? And are you in the Dominican, at home in the Dominican, while you talk with Sandy and the others.
Hey, Tim, great seeing you. You know, it's now with Jared on board. I mean, immediately he's been connected. You know, obviously heard great things from the first day. I've learned he got the job, and then you know we've connected, and it's been great. First couple of days interacting with them. So you know, even before that, the involvement with Sandy about different topics and how to get the team better. You know, it's been different, and it's been a learning curve for me. Like you said, it's the first time interacting that way. You know, last year everything was close to spring training, and we were there, and we got going. So now as the manager, in this times, we're going through the off season, October, November, now December, and being involved in those conversations. I'm grateful. I've learned a lot. Give some of the input in the areas that we need to get better, and also talking about our potential needs. I'm not going to say I'm every day on the leadership group calls, but I'm involved on what's going on, and I'm on the loop of what's going on. So, very well, and even more now with Jared. Like we connect pretty much every day, and we relay each other. We're giving each other share information of our vision and some of the expectations that we have. So, really looking forward to keep, developing that relation and learning more from him and passing whatever I can pass to him as well to prepare the team for next year.
And when you called Cano, can you share anything that he told you?
Well, first of all, when Robinson and I spoke, it was mainly supportive. I didn't want to get in depth of anything. There was no questioning. It was more support from a personal standpoint. Like Robinson and myself have a good relationship, and he does with the rest of the coaching staff. So he does with the rest of the team. So it was more supportive. We are supportive of the program as well. Once you test positive in the program, we know, especially for a second time, we know what's going on. So there's not more to do than to be supportive to Robinson going through it. That was pretty much the conversation, but nothing expanded or questioned to him. And, that was basically it. And those are our conversations, whenever we get a chance to talk as well.
Next question is from Enrique Rojas.
Hola Luis, buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes, mucho gusto.
Ok, Luis, básicamente tú has mencionado los casos de Amer Rosario y de Edwin Díaz, pero quiero que me digas, ¿cuál es el torpedero regular de los Mex, si es que tiene uno hoy día, y cuál es el cerrador de los Mex, si tiene hoy uno señalado para ese puesto?
Hi, so yeah, you've spoken about the roles of Ahmed and Edwin Diaz. But let's say we were talking about today's game. Who is your shortstop and who is your closer in today's game?
Nuevamente, hola Enrique. Sí, espero que todo esté bien con tu familia. Y para responder tu pregunta o tus preguntas, nosotros una de las cosas que no hacemos es dar roles muy temprano en el equipo. Sí, los muchachos se preparan para jugar las posiciones, pero de la forma que nosotros vamos a usar el equipo estratégicamente, o de la forma que vamos a mover los muchachos de posición a posición, o de la forma que le decimos a ellos que se preparen esta temporada muerta para expandir su versatilidad. Eso es ahora mismo el enfoque que nosotros tenemos. Yo hablé ahorita de Ahmed, por ejemplo, que ha sido el jugador que ha jugado, que va a llegar a redundancia, más Cioreto en la última 3 temporadas, y que si él puede expandir también su versatilidad a tercera base, nos ayudaría bastante a mover nuestra ficha. Lo mismo que le hemos pedido a Andrés Jiménez, cuando estaba ya en los niveles altos en las menores, era que expandiera su versatilidad, y así lo hizo, y por eso recibió chances de jugar este año. Así que ese mismo enfoque es ahora mismo el que tenemos, de que el equipo sea lo más versátil posible. Eso nos da una gran profundidad para estar ahí afuera en el campo estratégicamente y mover piezas y hacer cosas que nos ayuden a ganar partidos. Y cuando lleguemos ya cerca de la temporada, si hay roles definidos, entonces uno puede compartir eso ya con todo el mundo.
Yeah, so the one thing that we don't do as a coaching staff is we don't determine the roles of the players this early on. What we do encourage our players to do is to maintain their versatility, or even build on their versatility. In Ahmed's case, the last 3 years he's been our primary shortstop, but we have wanted him to become a little bit more versatile in the infield, just the same way that we asked Andres Gimenez when he was in the minor leagues. Once we get further along in spring training, if we do have roles, we will disclose those roles. But until then, we want our guys to keep on improving their versatility to help the team win.
Y lo otro es, con la segunda pregunta, lo mismo con el cerrador. Nosotros creo que con la adquisición de Trevor May y teniendo a alguien como Edwin Díaz, todavía no sabemos cómo vamos a utilizar a Lugo. Sabemos que él en las dos posiciones, como relevista y como abridor, tiene mucho valor para nosotros. Pero teniendo muchas personas, el mismo yo y familia, que tienen experiencia de cerrador, o sea, eso nos ayuda a utilizarlo contra el orden del line-up que viene en un séptimo, un octavo, un noveno inning. Así que decir que alguien es el cerrador plantado de una sola persona, ahora mismo no podemos compartir eso. Yo pienso que nosotros podemos usar a los muchachos en diferentes partes del juego para parar cualquier momentum que la ofensiva contraria puede construir contra nosotros.
And regarding your second question about the closer, even with our acquisition of Trevor May, now we have a lot of guys who can come in and step up to close a game. We can make the matchups the way that we feel would benefit us against the opposing lineup. So we have Edwin Diaz, we have Trevor May. We don't know what we're going to do with Seth Lugo yet, but we also have Jerry's Familia, who has closing experience. So we have a lot of different things that we can throw at a team, but until we get closer, we can't have defined roles, and we still have to let the team take shape at the end of the day.
Next question is from Arvin Gonzalez.
Gracias. Hola, Luis.
Saludos, Alvin. ¿Cómo estás? Espero que todo bien con tu familia.
Igual para la tuya. Mi pregunta es la siguiente. Tomando en cuenta que el equipo ahora se prepara para una temporada de 162 partidos y que va a enfrentar a más rivales más allá de las dos divisiones este, ¿qué tanto varía esto y hace más difícil la planificación y la estrategia para tener buenos resultados?
Yeah, Luis, with the upcoming season, the plan is to play 162 games. So you will be playing against more teams, not just the division rivals. With that said, how much more difficult does your game planning become now, having to face more teams and the way the roster is constructed?
Sí, Alvin, bueno, esa es muy buena pregunta. Sí, eso, claro, se ha tomado en cuenta. Nosotros el año pasado hicimos ese ejercicio de preparación contra todos los equipos que nos íbamos a jugar en calendario. 20 equipos que se va a jugar con los de nuestra la liga, y también contra la Interliga, la división que vamos a jugar. Nosotros nos preparamos y contra cada uno de esos equipos hay mucha data, hay mucha información compartida a nivel de Grandes Ligas que nos ayuda a prepararnos por lo menos a través de esa fuente. Y al mismo tiempo tenemos scouts profesionales también que están a cargo de equipos o de divisiones en particular o de áreas en particular. Así que sí tenemos planes como prepararnos para jugar esos encuentros contra más equipos de lo que jugamos este año. Este año nos enfocamos mayormente en lo que fue nuestra división y la división este de la Liga Americana, como tú dices. Pero tenemos la herramienta y tenemos el personal ahora mismo para prepararnos contra los demás equipos, como se ha hecho en el pasado. Y ya ese ejercicio yo pude tener un poco de experiencia el año pasado cuando estábamos preparándonos en el primer entrenamiento para jugar una temporada de 162 hasta que fue interrumpido.
Yeah, so last season, during the first spring training, we did have that experience where we were planning for all the teams on the schedule, and it wasn't just the NL East and the AL East. We do have the tools, we do have the information and the personnel to be able to get that information to plan against all the teams that we will be playing against. So I do have that experience, and we feel like we will be well prepared going into next season.
Thank you, Alan. Next up is Mark Roseman.
Thank you, Harold. Happy holidays, Luis. Two questions for you. The first, 2019, towards the end of the season, it seemed that the young roster really fed off of the energy in the stadium. And, the following season, when you're the manager, you have no fans in the stadium. How much do you think that affected the performance on the field of the team? And secondarily, with the loss of Robinson this year, again, with that young roster, who is the guy you want to look to give those young kids the veteran leadership?
Hey, Mark. Hope everything's well on your end as well. Yeah, two good questions. Last year that was a tough part. It was tough not to have the fans in the stadium cheering. And yes, in 19, the guys always brought up the memories, especially some of the series that we have, specifically about against the Nationals, where Citi Field was just a packed house, and it was electric. I mean, the energy the fans transmitted to that young core mixed with some veterans, it was special. I mean, the guys feed off of it, you could just feel it, that they were behind you, that they were supporting you. So we definitely missed that this year. The guys missed that this year. They brought it up several times in the clubhouse. We're looking forward for that to happen soon. With the news developing in the world now. So for your second question, could you remind me again the second question? I'm sorry. Mark?
Yeah. So the second question was, Robinson Cano was one of the veterans on that team and gave the young core some veteran leadership. Now, who do you expect to fill that void?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a great question. And Robinson did a great job in the clubhouse, and he does a great job on the field, off the field. But besides Robbie, we have a lot more leaders on the team. Guys with the experience of playing in New York, the experience of playing in New York in a World Series. I think there's a lot of leaders, and I can just go ahead down the list and mention a bunch of names. And one of the first that pops in my head is it's Michael Conforto. He's a guy that stands out, and we talked in the room openly with everybody. Even there, we have some young guys in there. They speak in the room as well. The Dom Smith, the JD Davis, the Brandon Nimmo's. You have a Jacob deGrom, and other guys, Seth Lugos, and guys like that experience playing in New York in a packed Citi Field, like you mentioned, and playing up playoff games and World Series. So there are a lot of leaders that can definitely, take over in the room and lead by example, and also lead verbally. So, I think we're in a good shape with the guys that we have in there, and the experience and the passion that they have for the team.
Mr. Yato, your line is open.
Hi, Luis. Thanks for your time. Quick question from a Japanese TV about the international market this winter. If you have heard of a Japanese right-handed pitcher, Sugano, or have looked at any other players who are trying to come play in the big league from Japan this offseason, what do you know about them, and what is your impression of them?
Well, Hi, thanks for the question and everything good here. Hope you and your family are doing great as well. I've seen the names and I've seen them in the market as hot names. But there's not much that I've seen as far as like highlights and how they've been performing. I've had experience in the past with players that came and play and actually managing here in Winter Bowl in the Dominican Republic. I had a chance to be Seth Lugo's manager one year, and all the talent, the way of the competition that they bring, and I saw Seth Lugo playing for the Tampa Rays this year. But there's always a high level of competition. It's the major league there, and then every player that has come to play here and compete, I think has been up to the task. So but it's somebody that I haven't been able to really watch closely and seen perform, but I definitely heard the name several times from people that have seen him perform.
Thank you, Louis. Next question will be from Lloyd Carroll.
Hey, Louis. Seth Lugo, you alluded to Seth Lugo before. He obviously has made it clear he wants to be a starter. And I was just curious if you've spoken with him. And just as a personnel manager, how difficult is it for you when you know that someone wants to do role A and you have to give them role B? I'm wondering how stressful that is.
Well, hi, Lloyd. Great talking to you. Thanks for the question. Seth, I've talked to Seth, but we haven't really talked about roles for next year yet. Obviously he finished in our starting rotation. One of the things, Lloyd, here is that if you ask the majority of the pitchers, like they want to be a starter too. So, no difference from Seth, the way he likes to go about it, his repertoire, his demeanor. He wants the ball all the time. And then, if he's to be a starter, which is how originally he got drafted and went through the minor leagues, and I was his manager in the minor leagues. He was a good starting pitcher in the minor leagues for us, and he's done both. I thought it was a challenge for him this year to stretch out during a 60-game season, and then perform at the same time after being in the bullpen. So I think he can give us both. Right now, we're not there. We could commit either way. I know a guy like Seth will want the ball either way. We commit to him when we share the plan. So we'll see where we go with the strategy and the team structure. And I think that's probably going to dictate where we're going to go with Seth.
Okay, we have time for about two more. Next up, Rich Gattino, your line's open.
Hey, Louis. Got a quick question for you. I know there's a lot of things that could still happen with the offseason roster in the offseason, but you got two significant additions already, one in the bullpen and one behind the plate. I was wondering what your impressions are of those guys, and is McCann someone, we talked about leadership a couple of questions ago, is he a guy that you can look to in leadership in the clubhouse as you go forward in 2021? Did you hear the question?
Sorry. I heard the questions, Rich. So yeah, both of the additions are great, and you mentioned the two with Trevor May and James McCann. I think James McCann, it was one of our big needs behind the plate. The pitching is always a need with Trevor May. And other acquisitions also that we've had in the offseason, they've been great. Guys like Jacob Barnes, Mac Williams, and I know we've acquired a lot more pieces. Robert Garcia, minor leagues, signees, with potential invitation to spring training and names that we know. But just to talk about James and Trevor, I think both of those guys bring a lot. I mean, we've seen recently how they perform, at the big league level with playoff contending teams. James is been with the White Sox, handling a great staff there of pitchers, and that's what we're looking for here. Have that catcher that can be really good handling the pitching, receiving, and it can also help us with controlling the running game. That's something that we haven't been able to perform well in the last 3 seasons. We're playing in a division where all the teams are very athletic. They're going to be aggressive against us if we can't do that. So I think James is going to help us in that matter, along with the pitching staff, controlling that running game. And then with Trevor being another asset in the bullpen can give us a lot of flexibility, like I mentioned, to use guys in different parts of the games to stop the middle of the lineup of the opposing team. And, just to take a quick example there. And we can use a lot of strategies just to share that one there. Trevor is definitely a great weapon, pitch, playoff experience, great demeanor on the mound, fastball, and mixture of his secondary pitches. It can definitely be a force. Both of those guys can be a force for us in 2021.
Thank you, Louis. Final question will come from Mark Healy.
Hey, Luis. How are you? It's nice to meet you. I apologize if this question has been asked already, but anytime there's an ownership change, anytime that there's a regime change in baseball operations, obviously people worry about their job. How important was it to you that almost immediately after taking over, Sandy Alderson basically said that you weren't going anywhere? How much did that mean to you as someone who, may have been worried about their job?
Well, hey, Mark, nice to meet you. And thanks for the question. And I mean, I'm going to answer that question maybe 2 different ways. I thought it was, it was very professional, the way it was communicated to me. Immediately just reached out to me and just telling me what the plan was. I found that very, respectful. And then, you always appreciate that type of communication. But when it comes down to being worried about the job, I mean, the way I see it is, there's no time to worry about things like that. I mean, you just there's no time. I mean, the focus has got to be always to getting guys better, getting the team better, making everybody around you better. And that's what I've done in the off season since day one of the off season. And it was my job during the season as well. So when it came down to that, new ownership and Sandy, came over, I certainly appreciate the communication, like I said, but not to worry about anything before, other than just developing a plan for the team whenever we had the chance to share it with everyone.
Louis, thank you very much for your time today, and thank everybody else for joining the call. Please stay safe, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks, guys.